Pesach is a week and a half away, and thus I'd like to dedicate this vblog to Pesach and to a beautiful interpretation by Rashi to the Song of Songs. The Song of Songs is the biblical book that we read an excerpt from on Pesach, the reason being twofold. First, that we see imagery of the winter being gone. It says, "Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away, for lo, the rain is past, the winter is gone, the flowers appear on earth." And so it speaks to spring, which is part of the renewal of Pesach. Second, it is also about the metaphor that the rabbis see in the Song of Songs. Plainly speaking, the Song of Songs is about two lovers who really care for one another and are in nature and speaking about their desire for one another. But the rabbis understood it to be a metaphor between the Jewish people and our God, and that perhaps the greatest expression of our love, that love between God and the Jewish people, is when God redeemed us from the land of Egypt. And so again, that is another reason that we read the Song of Songs on Pesach. What is really incredible is two verses that Rashi speaks to. It says that my dove, you are like a dove that appears at the cleft of a rock. And that's probably about beauty. Dove is beautiful and gorgeous skin and things like that, and so it's a very loving thing to say. But actually, Rashi sees it much in line with the rabbis who see it as a metaphor for us, the Jewish people. If you think of a dove that's in the cleft of a rock, and perhaps it's actually looking outward and it sees a hawk. If a hawk is outside a cleft of a rock or a cave, then the dove has to stay put because it can't go outside or will be eaten by the hawk. Likewise, if the dove was looking for another hiding place from the hawk and didn't just want to stay in the cleft of the rock but wanted to look inside the cave, perhaps there was a snake, says Rashi. If there's a snake inside the cave, then the dove is also unsafe going inside. Almost the dove is stuck, and maybe that's how the Jewish people, how we felt at the shores of the Red Sea when we were escaping from Egypt with the help of Moses by God. And when we looked backwards at the shore of the Red Sea, we saw the Egyptians on our tails, much like a hawk. And then we look forward and we see sea, and there was no parting at that time, and so it seemed overwhelming and something that could not be overcome. That was like the snake when the dove looked back inside the cave. And so what did we do when we looked backward and looked forward and saw no way out? Much like what the dove did. The dove saw the hawk, couldn't go out, saw the snake, couldn't go in, but realized that the dove can fly up. And so the dove flew up and found a safe place. Us too, we too, actually, we looked up at that moment of being freed from Egypt, and we saw our God. Or perhaps we saw some type of sense of our better selves, and therefore we knew that we could go on. And that is the moment that the sea part tells us Rashi. And so this Pesach, it is my prayer that whenever we are in narrow places, Mitzrayim, another word for Egypt, that we look not only all around us for assistance and for the strength of others or ourselves reflected in others, but in fact we look upward and we see our God and we see a better sense of ourselves, and that in that way we can find our own redemption. Chag Sameach.